The streets, road, and dusty lanes of Columbia have been a fertile territory for myths and legends long since before the arrival of the Spaniards. The tales of a one-legged wailing banshee that forever sought her child, and the one of the backwards-footed goblin that led travelers to their doom, it all nibbled at the corner of the journeyman's ease for centuries. Although these stories mainly troubled those living or passing through rural areas, the growth of the cities brought in a new breed of urban legend, rooted in the primal distrust that we all harbor, somewhere deep inside of modern technology. An example of this is the phantom of the bus that allegedly roams the streets at night. Supposedly, a young woman who boarded it alone was found mutilated in an overgrown outlying field a couple of days later, a frozen look of abject terror illustrating their last moment of breath. That being said, given that you're certainly not a young woman, at least at the time you checked, and that it's 5:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, phantom buses and handicapped goblins are the last thing on your mind. You've been using the public transport system for over 2 decades, and your greatest concern is that traffic levels have all but become unmanageable since the last mayor took office. However, home is about 80 blocks away, so your only choice is to wait until the right bus comes along. Walking it would certainly take longer than putting up with any traffic jam. When the bus displaying the route sign that you're hoping for shows up, its advertised fare is about 200 pesos lower than the standard going rate these days. This usually indicates that the vehicle in question is older and a bit more uncomfortable than most, but no bus rider in the history of the city has ever given a damn about that. Folks consider themselves richer and above, and this mode of transport and pays 7 times this amount to get around in a cab, and statistically expose themselves to a higher chance of being mugged or robbed. More power to them, I guess, right? Never being one to avoid a discount, you ask the driver if he'll let you on for a certain amount. The wrinkled, musty-looking man's eyes never leave the road as he silently takes your money and slides it up in the purse hanging from the gear stick. Satisfied, you turn your attention to the cabin, and what would make this ride ideal would be an empty seat. Curiously enough, considering the time of day, there aren't even enough passengers aboard this one for anybody to be standing. A few spots in sight are available, so you choose the one on the left, kinda towards the middle. Both the aisle and the window seat are free, so you sigh contently as you sprawl out, putting one of your knees on the other seat. This particular trip should be over in just about no time. The driver's radio is off and your phone battery ran out about an hour ago, so you pass the time staring out the window, watching vendors ply their wares and car drivers nodding along to whatever music they're listening to. Your position eventually starts to take its toll on your back, so you straighten up and take the chance to examine your fellow passengers. None of them seem to be riding together, given that everybody's quietly facing the front of the bus. They all seem uncommonly old, too. Not in the sense that they're all over 100, but in the sense that nobody seems to be under 75. You find that a bit odd, and for a brief moment, the idea that you don't belong here flashes through your mind. It's a silly thought, but combined with the bus's particularly strong, although not necessarily atypical, smell of must and metal makes you look forward to the end of the trip. Nevertheless, there are about another 30 to 40 blocks to go. You look out the window again. You zone out and let your mind go where it will for a while. The sight of a bakery pulls you from your reverie about 20 minutes later. You get up and you make your way past your silent companions to the exit, where you hunt for the little button to let the driver know that you've reached your stop. As you spot it above the door, you realize that nobody who was boarded had left the vehicle since you got on, which is definitely weird for this time of rush hour. Shrugging it off as a coincidence, you press down on the button. You're sitting in your seat facing the front of the bus. Wait, what the hell just happened? You look around and see that everybody's where they were a moment ago. You try to make eye contact with them, but it's fruitless, since they all seem to be lost to whatever old minds seem to wander to. The thought of saying something runs through your head, but you decide against it. What would you say anyway? You were zoned out too, so you probably just imagined getting up to ring the bell. Yeah, that's probably it. Your daydreams do occasionally get so vivid that it leaves you downright startled. Besides, you're already 2 blocks past your stop. Call it a weird thing that happened on your way home or whatever. But for now, you should just get off the bus. There's no point in having to walk back too far. You once again get off your seat and head towards the rear exit, somewhat unnerved by the other passengers' stoic disinterest in everything around them. There's the button, right where you remember it. Except you can't remember it. Of course not. You've never actually been back here. You probably saw it when you got on. After grabbing the guardrail, these bastards occasionally stop on a dime when you ring. You look toward the driver. You put your thumb on the button. You're sitting in your seat facing the front of the bus. A piercing chill runs down your spine. Instead of fading away, it spreads through every one of your extremities. Not a shift in your body or an ambient temperature. It's the chill you feel when you're suddenly consumed by a level of fear that precedes terror. Something really messed up's going on here. You don't know what it is, but you want out, and you don't want to be here anymore. The feeling of bitter solitude is now gnawing at your mind. Whatever these people around you are thinking, they clearly don't give a damn about what's going on with you. Therefore, you once again decide to avoid saying anything and simply lift yourself off the seat, not processing the fact that you did it with much less agility than you should have been. All you want to do right now is get off this damn bus. Besides, it's already been more than 10 blocks past your street, which suddenly feels like a distastefully long distance to walk. This is all secondary to that point at hand, though. You have to get off this bus. As you make your way to the back, an old lady in the back row looks up at you. Her expression tells you nothing, but the way she fixates on you, on your torso to be precise, is as if you were just another chunk of the vehicle that further spikes that almost overpowering sense of dread, now coursing through your very veins. Whatever, you can't panic. Not now. You stand at the back of the bus, and instead of ringing the bell, you yell at the driver. You yell at him to stop, to let you off. The thing is, you've already rung it twice and nothing's come of it. You curse at him and tell him you want him to die and wish great evil upon his kin. But the door remains unmoved. The man is not listening, or he doesn't care, or he doesn't want you to get off. But you don't give a damn about what he wants or doesn't want. So you grab onto the bars, step back for momentum, and you give a solid kick right to the column. You're sitting on your seat, facing the front of the bus. It takes a moment to register. Maybe more than a moment, maybe a full minute. You realize that the bus doesn't want you to leave. You realize that your right knee hurts, with this unnatural piercing sharpness. It's the same leg that you used against the door. Now it feels like it's all but broken. That quickly becomes a distant concern when you attempt to massage it though, because you notice your hands. They're not the hands of a 25-year-old. They're wrinkly, with well-defined veins and even lightly patched with liver spots. As you study your hands and arms, a cold terror envelops you, and every corner of your psyche. You touch your face and feel wrinkles and whiskers that didn't exist upon your cheekbones. Your head is patched over with a few anemic strands of hair. As your fingertip grazes your coarse scalp, a spark of electricity shoots through it and down the most private recess of your being. Your eyes dry up as they're opened wide and unbelieving. You feel a 7-ton lump of horror coalesce in your otherwise paralyzed throat. You must leave this evil bus. You must leave here before it finishes what it's begun. You must carefully make your way off of your seat. No need for any further injury. And head towards the front, toward the driver. Perhaps you can reason with him. Perhaps you can club him to death with a flashlight or something, since there's only a variety of trinkets and gadgets at the front of the bus. You're sitting on your seat, facing the front of the bus. It takes a good 5 to 10 minutes for you to come to terms with what's happening to you. You understand that your life is vanishing before your eyes. Your hands are now like those of your grandmother's. Your back hurts from the base of your neck all the way down. Your eyes can barely focus on the huge sign above the window. Your mind isn't as sharp as it should be. It takes you a while to determine that you should make another attempt at the exit. Perhaps a violence isn't the answer. Perhaps you can gently push it open. Perhaps if you treat the bus like a living thing, being gentle instead of like a demonic thing, it will let you out. Perhaps. The old woman is looking at you again. You notice her blue jacket that was much too big for her. If it were a blouse of the same size, it would hang loosely on her gaunt frame. A tiny, hesitant tear forms on her frail face. and allows you a meandering path down her ancient features. There's a red Toto watch on her wrist, the sort that was all the rage with the kids graduating from high school. You examine the door. 2 panes join vertically on a hinge, coated on the right by a rubber pad to avoid contact damage. The door is slightly bent inwards. You notice this, a glimmer of hope runs through you. If you can just insert... You're sitting on your seat facing the front of the bus. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on with my hands? They're old hands. They're the hands of an old man. Not like my grandfather, but an old man. He's behind you. You start to turn to yell at him and he grabs you by the face and you scream at him. You let him off the bus to do something you don't understand. His blood, his teeth, your teeth. Oh my god, the teeth. They're tiny. They're dust. What the hell? How long have I been here? I'm breaking the fucking window with my elbow. Even if it breaks, I don't want to die on here. No more of... You're sitting on your seat, facing the front of the bus. After a long time, you glance down at your hands. They're gnarled, arthritic, blood-spattered claws of a hag. It's seen more than one generation of its horrors. A hag. A hag isn't the right word. A hag's a woman, right? At least it was in mother stories, like those of the banshee. Your knee still hurt, but not as much as your elbow. It feels like it shattered. Oh right, the bus. You gotta get off of it. You know that you must get off of it. You don't remember why, but you know you have to. As if it's an imperative that you do so. It's urgent. It's urgent, but you're so tired. You lift yourself off the seat, but your knee buckles under your weight. By chance, you happen to fall right back on the bench. You must get off the bus. Yeah, you remember the buses. They used to take you to work. You steady yourself on the bench. You'll try to get off the bus, but you'll do it in a moment. You need to rest. The bus? Yeah, the bus can wait. You're sitting in your seat, facing the front of the bus. You're sitting in your seat, facing the front of the bus. You're sitting in your seat, facing the front of the bus. You're sitting in your seat, facing the front of the bus. I would like to thank all the patrons currently listed on screen right now. Dan R, Neophyte Games, Chaos X, J.Y, Pyromancer, Hayden M.H, Ethan A, Daniel H, Maximilian Charles P, Go Cute Puppy, LLC, Young Sykes, Dark Side of the Bear, Revenick, Paul T, and Mr. Swiston. Guys, thank you all so much. I appreciate it.